In this video, I want to show you how the Queen of England is not the rightful heir to the throne, and I will show you how the genealogy charts that substantiate her claim to the throne are all fabricated. So the first thing I want to show you is that when it comes to the genealogy charts and the family names and the family crests of white people, these were all created by the College of Heralds in England. And according to the College of Heralds' own records, they took bribes from white people who wanted to create fake genealogy charts. These people were called social climbers because they wanted to elevate their social status by creating false genealogies. So before I continue, I want to rewind a little bit and talk about what was going on briefly in England and all of Europe before they created their false genealogy charts, so we can get a better perspective as to why they did this in the first place. So something important to know is that the Moors, who are Cushites, were living in and ruling all of Europe since the time of 700 AD, so over 1300 years ago. And actually, there's evidence that they were there long before that. And the Moors had family names, genealogies, they had family crests, they had different crowns worn by different kings and queens of different territories. They owned all of the land in Europe, and it was all documented in what is now called the Domesday Book. They controlled every aspect of Europe, from its economy to its religious practices, and the Moors were extremely wealthy. White people, however, were poor peasants and farmers who were under the rule of their black Cushite rulers. At this time, white people had no last names, no family crests, they owned no land, and they ruled nothing. In fact, the Queen of England's own family didn't even have a last name until 1917, when they adopted the name Windsor. So there's a reason why the school system in America indoctrinates African American children from a very young age, and they're taught to believe that they all came from Africa on slave ships brought by white people. And there's a reason that they don't teach our people anything about the Black Moors who ruled Europe. And you'll never find anything in any American history book that teaches you that the Black Moors were enslaving white people during the so-called transatlantic slave trade. And the reason they don't teach you this is because once you know the truth that Black Moors ruled all of Europe, that proves that we were not brought here by white people, but we were already here. And once you know the truth that the Moors were enslaving white people during the so-called transatlantic slave trade, not to mention white people tell African Americans that the Moors are the ones who sold them to the white people in the first place. But you have to think about that. Does it make any sense? Because if white people were enslaved by the Moors and being sold in markets in Africa by the Moors during this very same time, how did white people who were slaves themselves, how did they manage to purchase and sell slaves and transport them from one side of the earth to the other when they were slaves? So you have to use your common sense. And they lie to you and they tell African Americans that they have slave names. This is another great lie. And if you look at the Fairbairn Book of Crests, look at the Black royal families who were ruling Germany, Ireland, Scotland, Britain, Portugal, Italy, and all of Europe, and look at their family crest and their last names, their family names. We did not get our last names from white people. They are not slave names. White people are the ones, when they began to first create their own family crest and their own fake genealogies, they are the ones who stole our last names. as they conquered each family who had their own territory, as they would conquer each territory, they would adopt the name of the family that they conquered. So we don't get our names from white people. White people